Theodore Roosevelt once said, "The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena."
I believe there's a hero in all of us that keeps us honest, gives us strength, makes us noble.
So that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat.
Seize the day.
Whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood. Who knows the great enthusiasms, the great devotions, and spends himself in a worthy cause.
And I'm gonna stay right here and fight for this lost cause.
You've got to get mad.
I mean plumb mad dog mean.
Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure.
Who at best, if he wins, knows the thrills of high achievement. And if he fails, at least fails while daring greatness.
I'm gonna show you how great I am.
We want to do everything we can to keep the students in the building, but first and foremost, the focus has to be on their safety.
A faculty member at Detroit Catholic Central High School took a COVID test over the weekend, and the results came back Monday. The faculty member tested positive for COVID-19.
So our maintenance crew came in on Sunday and did a clean wherever that faculty member may have been.
The Oakland County Health Department immediately started contact tracing. They determined there'd been no close contact between the faculty member and students and staff.
Through our social distancing and the limited number in the classrooms, how we're spread out in the hallways and media center and cafeteria and gym and just everything, it's been working. And we were able to make sure that there had been no close contact with that faculty member.
Hi, once again, everybody. I'm Ed Berliner, and welcome into another edition of The Man in the Arena, the fastest 30 minutes in sports. Thanks so much for joining us. A reminder once again, you're watching us live right now on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. You can also view the show when it's all done on our YouTube site. And don't forget, you can catch the audio and download that all on all the major podcast platforms. Just search them out. And also during the show, you're going to find out more about where you can find us as well. Just keep watching. Those of you watching, just keep watching the lower third banners and you'll learn more about where we are. But don't worry about it. You can find us. At the end of the show, stick around because you're going to hear a report on something that is a little bit disturbing. The fact that there are high schools and states that may indeed be covering up their COVID-19 tests to make sure that teachers, parents, and even the students don't know exactly what's going on. You'll hear that a little bit later on. Let's get to it because as we speak right now, COVID-19 is still the summer of 2020. There are high schools across the country that are testing positive more and more every day for the virus. Yet there are more and more every day who are deciding that they are going to go ahead and they're going to have fall sports. Colleges are doing it as well. Matter of fact, we're going to talk a little bit later on about an Associated Press preseason top 25. That's got to be fun when a lot of the teams aren't even going to play. So let's go ahead and dig into it right now. Once again, let's welcome back my buddy. I've known him for a long, long time, and boy, nobody knows high school and college sports recruiting better than he does. We'll let you know where you can get a hold of him as well, because don't worry, Twitter and Facebook, he is all there and he's all here when it comes down to talking about this. We welcome Larry Blustein back into the Man in the Arena. How you been, Blue?
Doing good, Ed. Thanks so much for having us once again on this beautiful day in some parts of the country, while the Gulf states are kind of bracing for Laura, obviously, and our prayers are definitely with everybody there.
Absolutely. All our thoughts go to the people in the Gulf states, Texas, Louisiana, the places like that. We hope that you're going to see this show a lot later on and not watching it live now because, frankly, you've got more important things to do than have to worry about sports and a show, but certainly COVID-19 is going to make that just a mess. But our prayers go out to all of our friends, our family, and everybody that we know to please stay safe. Staying safe is something that you and I have talked about for a long time here on the show when it comes down to the summer of COVID-19. And there's the interesting part about it, Larry. Since last we talked, and it's been a while, more schools are opening up, more fall sports are going to be played, and yet we still, like the folks in Detroit that we just heard a couple of moments ago, they say they're doing everything they can to keep their students safe. Okay, from what you've seen and what you've gleaned in the last couple of weeks, do you get the sense that things are getting better and that schools are doing everything they can to ensure that students, coaches, parents, teachers, people back home are all going to be safe?
To be honest with you, I mean, you take a look at that statement, and while half the schools, especially in Florida, are not even really in class. It's all virtual. South Florida is virtual. A lot of the other parts of the area, Miami-Dade County hasn't started school yet, but for one reason or another, they're starting athletics in a lot of places in the country, which kind of angers a lot of people, while others say, hey, you know what? I'm kind of fed up with it. Let them go. Let's see what happens. And that's the mindset right now, unfortunately. And nothing that you and I are going to say that are going to change these minds of these parents and these kids. We've tried. Lord knows for the last 6 weeks that we've been on this, 3 weeks off. But prior to it, we've been coming up with everything possible. And even went as far as to say, watch Georgia. Georgia's going back full blow. What they do, it wasn't even 1 week, 5 days, 4 days into school, and all of a sudden they're sending kids home, and 60 kids are having COVID. And
so then is it fair to say, from all you've just said and all that we know, that from what you've seen, certainly from what I've seen, I can certainly say that people think they're trying to do everything they can.
Yeah.
And with what's given us, with the physical tools that we have to do it, yes, but it's the decision-making tools that still bother me. Do you get the sense that all these schools, Florida, around the country, are doing everything they can? Or do you think, as you sort of alluded to a little bit there, that maybe it's a nudge and a wink here, kind of like, don't worry, we're doing everything we can, but we're really still kind of shooting in the dark. We're not sure what we're doing.
Yeah, they can't afford to do everything that they would like to do. Believe me, some of these school districts are so cash strapped right now that ordering pens and pencils is something of an achievement. So getting face masks and limiting distance and wearing
you can't put everybody 6 feet apart. I mean, there's even been some medical experts and some education experts have said there's no way you can't keep them 4 feet apart, much less 6. And now we're getting more medical that tells us that the virus, if you expel it when you're talking, goes maybe 6 feet. But there's some that now say, and studies are showing, that it stays alive in the air for much longer than that and goes much farther than that. So we're learning more about it, and as we learn more about it, it becomes less and less a chance that we can control anything, not as if we can control Mother Nature in the first place.
Well, Ed, we've been told, and this is what we've been told since day one, trust science. Go with what science is telling you. And a lot of these states are doing just that. You take a look at the state of Florida, and for one reason or another, and we can't say, well, they've stopped testing as much, or there are not a lot of people that are testing that should be testing, but the numbers from a science standpoint are going down. In Miami-Dade County, the numbers are around 6-7% when they were up around 20-22%. Broward County, 5%, which now what happens, and as we're speaking right now, Miami-Dade County is really pondering over the next couple of weeks. They're going to have physicals on September 5th. So that means that they're going to have the kids come in probably the week after, and the 12th. They're going to start their conditioning, and then by early October, they'll be back on the football field playing. Now, how they're going to accomplish this, I'm not real sure. It's easy to roll out, if you're at home, to roll out a football and say, yeah, they can play. Everybody will show up. But there's so many things that, as we've seen so far, so many obstacles, so many hurdles from a health standpoint, that I personally don't understand how it's going to be done. But you know what? I'm just along for the ride.
Well, but I even had this conversation that turned into an argument with somebody else about football just last week, where they said, don't worry about it because you can still have players who are safe. I said, okay, are all your players going to be wearing masks? And they said, until they play. Okay, wait a minute. So that's until they play, which means then they're on the bench, they get into the game, whatever, they take the masks off. Well, yeah, but there's not that much of a chance because they're in motion. Wait a minute, hang on a second here, Skizix, because you're talking about people who are basically spreading sweat, body contact, body touch constantly. If you don't have them wearing masks all the time, then you can't control it. Well, we can't have them wearing masks all the time because then the players can't breathe. Well, but if the players can't breathe, is that then it became this whole circle jerk in many ways of a conversation where can we not agree? And we're not trying to say we don't want people to play sports, but with the physical contact of sports, do not tell me, and I'll get your opinion on this too, that you can control it, that just being on the bench and having a mask on or being in practice is not going to help, because you still have to get into the physical contact of the game. And unless you're doing an NHL or an NBA bubble, you lose.
Right. Well, they're doing the precautions as much as they can, and that means
as much as they can. Right.
But this is what I'm saying. You could do it at 70% or even 80%. It's that 20% that you're not doing it that could be harmful. And that's what I'm saying. Oh, my bad, I didn't mean to drink out of your water bottle. Or my bad, I didn't mean to sneeze just now, or 2 inches from your face. Those type of things like that are going to happen. Anybody that's played sports before know that if you're immersed in the athletics or in the game or volleyball or whatever, your mind kind of is not focused on, oh, geez, did I wipe my hands down just now? Did I take a swig out of a junior's water bottle? See, you're not thinking of that, and that in the end result can be very harmful. So that's what I'm saying. I don't know. We could go 9 months and not have every protocol covered. We really can't, because somewhere along the line, someone's going to, oh, I forgot that. But while you're forgetting that could have been an avenue for somebody who had COVID to maybe spread that. So we're never, I don't care what you do, as we're seeing with the NBA, they're doing as much as they can, and they've done it very successful, but they're in a bubble. I mean, nobody's outside that. You leave that, you got to quarantine. You're not doing that in high school. And now, the only rationale, and this is the way that I looked at it, is if in Miami-Dade and Broward, and the only reason I'm bringing up those two counties, because those are two very large counties on a national on a national scope,
sure,
is if they remain in distance learning. Okay, so they don't bring everybody back into the classroom, so you don't have that opportunity during the course of a day to interact with your girlfriend Sophia, and then she's going to have a little bit of a cold that you think is a cold, but it could be something that she caught. This way, you're at home all day, you're learning, then you go to practice with the same guys who have that same mentality as you, but there's no saying that they don't have brothers, sisters, moms, and dad that are mixing in with the general public who may get sick. So that's the thing. You're never going to keep this under control. I think what's going to happen is no matter if you're in South Florida or South Dakota, there's always going to be an opportunity for, especially when you're not being governed and you're not being watched and you're not being scrutinized 24 hours a day and being under the hand of Big Brother, there's always going to be an avenue, and there's always going to be something where you're going to be able to maybe contract the disease. So no, it's never going to be safe. I don't care where you are. I don't care if you're in Blustein, Florida. I don't care if you're in Weehawken, Florida, or if you're in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I don't care if you're in Des Moines, Iowa, or Topeka, Kansas. There's always going to be an avenue for you to be sick. Somebody, you could be watching yourself, and you could be having a mask on and washing your hands and distancing yourself. But somebody who doesn't have that same mindset could be living in the same household as you are, and then you've kind of undone everything that you've tried to do for protocol.
But let's take it one more step. Is it possible, and anything's possible,
yeah,
but is it possible that we're overestimating this? Because Dave Armstrong, our good friend who's the president at St. Thomas University, came on the show a couple of weeks ago, and he basically said we have to stop living in fear. We have to do everything we can and do everything we possibly can in order to try and keep the athletes safe, but we still have to let them play. We got to get them out there. Dave and I respectfully disagree on that, because I still think it's a danger. But let's play the other side of this. Are you and I just two old white guys sitting here right now who are basically overestimating and saying a couple of kids get sick? Okay, it's not that big a deal. They're doing the best they can, and it's better to get out on the field and be part of a sport and be better to take part in something than just sit on your butt all the time and basically be a closed-in hermit. Are we just throwing it out and we're not really looking at everything right?
No, I don't think we are. I think what we're looking at it from a scientific approach, which everybody's not.
Which is not a bad way to look at it if you think we're dealing in a virus.
But yeah, no one else is going to do it. So that's the way, and that's why we're coming off as the old fuddy-duddy guys. We're coming off as the guys who, oh, listen to them. There's never going to be a perfect world. There's never going to be anything where, no matter what, the NFL, Major League Baseball, as we're finding out, with all their money, with all their, their measures to protect people, they still get it. My only contention here is you're dealing with kids, okay? And that's the whole thing. You're not dealing with people who are making $5 to $10 to $20 million a year who understand that their livelihood. I mean, there's potential livelihoods, but not their livelihood in itself is at stake. They're not old enough. They're not mature enough. But that's when you have the adults who are making the decisions. The kids are not going to walk into the office on Monday and say, we're going out Tuesday. I don't care what you say. These are adult decisions. These are people who are making a lot of money. It's all going to come down to superintendents who will make the initial and the final decision. Yes, you have school board members who are going to vote on along the way. But I've come to the point is there's nothing. I mean, you and I can sit here and talk about it and add our 10 cents, as much as we want. And our rationale may be 100% on target, but it's not what we say that's going to be the determining factor.
It's going to take somebody or a school being horribly infected for something to happen. Is the terrible thing to say. And thus
but it
far,
could easily happen. It could easily happen. So that's why I'm saying I'm not going to be one of those guys. I refuse to be one of those people along the way, as I told you so. Because we already know. Everybody knows. Every adult, every adult and every mature person making a decision understand the risks involved. So if they go ahead and play and something happens, they understood it. I know that they're going to make you sign waivers to play. So most parents will sign it because, Johnny across the street's playing. So Junior's playing as well.
See, that's something that we really haven't talked about much. And I think people need to decide on that. It's peer pressure, because you will have the kids who will say, I really want to sign, and I've got USC and Boston College sitting there both looking to get me on board right now. And if I don't get out there and play, hey, Mike's going out there and playing, and plays the same position. Somebody's going to see him. He's going to get a jump on the competitive side of things, and I'm going to lose my scholarship. So you deal in a lot of this. Which is
funny in itself, Ed. Which is funny in itself that you make that comment, because USC isn't even playing. So, so who cares?
Well, next year.
In that context.
In that sense, are we underestimating or overestimating that part of the equation? Because I think it needs to be made clear that the kids aren't playing male, female, basketball, football, whatever it is, and they're all looking for scholarships. In your opinion, are the colleges doing a thorough enough job right now to take this time and review the athletes as well as they can, using what would basically be videotape, home videotape, anything they can? Are they doing a good enough job in this, or are they a little lazy about it that could affect these kids?
Yeah, well, I don't think that they're being lazy. I just think that the fact is they're overwhelmed. To be honest with you, everybody's going to be overwhelmed. First of all, financially, you can't, unless you're the NBA or the NHL, which have put this into a bubble situation, you can't afford to do that in collegiate athletics. You can't do that. It would be more apt. You could do it in college because of the fact that you could have the kids stay, distance learn all day from their apartments or their dorms, and then come to practice and then go back, and then that would be more of a controlled environment where, they have to understand that, mom and dad and Junior from across the street that you went to school with and he's your best friend are not to, you could talk to him every single night on conference phone or whatever. You could do whatever you want, but you're not to see him. That's not realistic. And it's even less realistic at the high school level. So my point is, you and I have not belabored the point because it's too much of an important issue. It's a life-death issue. Sure. But we have talked about what we felt, and we've interjected, our years and our experience and our maturity on this issue. Okay, so with that out of the way, now that they make the decision, from my standpoint, it's up to me to support what they've done. and not every time some kid gets sick and spreads it to the whole team and they go into quarantine for 14 days to point my finger. It's a decision that was made. It wasn't my decision, but it's a decision that's made. It's my business. I cover these kids. I've done it for 50 years. I'll continue to do it. I know what I have to do. I went to a camp over the weekend that former UCF and the Northwestern and NFL lineman Torian Wilson ran. Before I even promoted the event, Torian promised me that every kid that would be attended would have their temperature taken, would wear masks the entire way, and they did, would have hand sanitizer, would have their own bottles of water that would have their name on it. He did. It was a perfectly run event. Okay, here's the thing. And as a lineman, you're always going to have contacts in some form of a way, whether it's just pushing out or whatever. So afterwards, you got to understand that if you're wearing your mask, when you're so close, there's, you've seen when someone coughs or sneezes through a mask, it even gets out a little bit. So wearing a mask is not going to stop something like that. But I felt it was safe enough for the period of time that we're in. And I understand, believe me, I'm not, Ed, you and I talk about this. I'll never second guess anybody's decision. It's not my decision, but it's theirs. And I'm not in this business to go around and always point my finger. I told you, because I won't do that, because if not, that thing can go, it could be perpetual. So the only thing I could do at this point, if in the state that I cover, which is Florida. Now, in a couple weeks, some of the parts of the state of Florida are going to be starting with games on the 4th of September, actual games. And, I'll go to the games, but I'll be smart enough to be on the sideline, away from the action, but at the same time be close enough to see it. It's the only thing I could do. I'm not going to, I don't touch a kid. I don't do anything like that. I try not to get close to him. If I'm talking to him, I could talk to him from 6 to 10 feet away. That's fine, obviously. And that's the only way I could do it. I mean, you and I have given our point on this. I think it's clear. We've had a lot of feedback from it. So,
then two things, because we're running out of time. Let's make sure we get two things in here right now. In your opinion, would it help these college athletes, these high school athletes, any at all, if they were to videotape themselves, put something together, and send to the college recruiters? Or are they simply at college just too overwhelmed with this and something like that is going to get thrown in the garbage?
Yeah, I think your latter. I think that they just have too much going on. Right now at the collegiate level, you have schools, in the AAC playing a season, but not the Big Ten. So they're more consumed with that. There's a lot of lawsuits going on. A lot of parents throughout the Big Ten, are up in arms now. Why is Southwest Texas playing, but Ohio State's not? So I think that's more important to them right now. I thought a decision, the NCAA, just like your own state associations, could have shown a lot more authority, could have shown a lot more, by bringing this together as a unit.
Leadership? Wait a minute. Leadership? They could have all gotten together and got on the same page. Oh, my God. Shocked me to death.
Yeah, no doubt. But I mean, it's better off. Let them do what they're going to do. If they can get, and I talk to coaches, if we can get 3-4 games, you see, it's not a season anymore. Now these coaches are actually saying, Larry, if we could get 3, 4, 5 games in, I'll be happy, because then obviously we can get the film that we need, and then we're pretty much clear all the way up until next May.
So we mentioned college, and let's talk about that here finally. With regard to the higher aspects of sports right now, the Associated Press that I've always thought is the organization when it comes down to polls. We used to have, when you and I were around, it was Associated Press, UPI, then it was USA Today Coaches Poll, and now there's all these different numbers. AP's always been pretty solid. They come out with a preseason top 25. Last time I checked, 9 major power schools aren't playing, and they're in the top 25.
That's
Am
right.
I missing something here? I mean, this is getting ludicrous. It's almost as if the AP is saying, we're in the pocket of college football like everybody else. We got to get our piece of the pie and put out this preseason ranking. To me, it's frighteningly useless, and actually that it's pretty much a joke.
And actually, what it does is it incites the teams in the Big
Sure.
Ten and the Pac-12 that are not playing because hey, we were ranked like Ohio State, they were ranked number 2. I mean, a lot good that does you. You know, when you're eating over at Dagwood Burgers across the street afterwards, you know, bragging about hey, we're number 2 in a season that's not going to be played for us. And you know, I don't know how it's going to be done, but I guess you know they do it from the standpoint as they know that people like you and I will talk about it. So
I guess that's got to be it. But you would agree with me that it's useless. I mean, it's again,
insignificant.
It's
yeah.
a nice discussion topic, but there's really nothing to it when you have all these schools that are bailing out. So as we're doing the show here on August the 26th, right now, we have X number of schools that have decided not to play. Do you expect more in the coming weeks?
We'll see. We'll see what happens because in the coming weeks you're going to start the season off. UAB and I believe Southwest Louisiana. That's an area right now that's going to undergo a lot.
I'm not thinking about football there right now.
Yeah, that may be answered for that. I think the good Lord above is answering that question. You know, as we speak. Yeah, it could happen. You know, we'll see what happens after game 1. I think the people who are in now are in, but on the same context, the Max Preps, which is the AP for high school sports, came out with a top 25 state of Florida rankings, and out of the top 25, 14 weren't going to be playing. 8 of the top 10 weren't going to be playing.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, it is.
But I think the point you bring up there is a good one because with these rankings, it's going to have parents and kids and coaches who are not playing anymore. They're all going to be pissed off right now. Hey, look, these people are playing and we're not, so you're forcing us to basically accept this and you're hurting us. So to me, it would be nice if the associations could get involved and say, let's not have rankings this year. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. There's that we all got to get together and do the right thing sort of thing, which is never going to happen, at least not in the state of Florida.
No, sir. And but you kind of answered that. That's why they did it. I mean, it's crazy, but again, when they were doing, they probably said the same thing. Hey, you know what, Joe, I don't think 10 of these teams are going to be playing, but you know what, Larry Blustein and Ed Berliner will be talking about it. So let's do that.
Yeah, the problem with it is, though, you're going to give us a show real soon where we're going to do nothing more than start naming the names of the various associations and the people who are involved at a leadership level, and we're going to start calling out by name. That's going to be even more fun when we start to give that out, because wait till you see the tweets and the Facebook shots you're going to get there. All right. A reminder once again, everybody, let's let you know where to catch Larry Blustein. Here it is. If you're watching us either live or on the taped versions, you can find out. On Twitter, it's at Larry Blustein. It's at SFHS Sports, at Prep Zone at Prep Red Zone FL. Will you stop with the Twitter accounts for crying out loud? My God, you got...
It's keeping everybody informed. We can't stop.
Start 20 more Twitter accounts. Why don't you go for it?
Just 3.
Also, you can visit his website. It is PrepRedZoneFlorida.com. That's one of the websites that Larry is involved in. And also, if you want to go ahead and get Larry, it is LarryBlustein.com. Of course, you can catch him also on Facebook. He's there. So he's everywhere. He's everywhere, and he's here as well. And we'll make sure that somewhere along the line we piss somebody off again, because that's pretty much what we do. Blue, always a pleasure, my friend. Take care. We'll talk to you again next week, buddy. Let's hope everybody just stays safe. That's all. I don't want to hear any mass casualty issues here of people getting sick. Let's just try and we'll hold together here that everybody stays safe. Thanks a lot.
Good stuff.
Larry Blustein joins us here on The Man in the Arena. Stick around, because you're going to hear a story about the possibility of covering up COVID-19 results in an educational setting when it comes down to athletics as well. That is scary, and you'll find out more about where to find us as well. Don't forget, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, our live shows there as well. You can check my Facebook page. You can find out when we're going to do the show. Also, don't forget that on the podcast side of things, 9 major audio podcast platforms, including iTunes. You can catch us there as well. And also, you can drop me a line here. We'll talk as well on that. Hey, stay safe, everybody. And again, to our friends in the Gulf Coast, in Texas, Louisiana, other places, the Panhandle of Florida, please stay safe. We are thinking about you. Please come through this okay. Our thoughts are going to stay with you all the time. Yep. We look to see you again next week. For Larry Blustein, I'm Ed Berliner. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Until next time, rock on, true believers. See ya.
The New York Times is focusing on Camden County schools. saying the school district is keeping quiet about positive COVID-19 cases. According to the article, an email from the deputy superintendent to school administrators told staff who test positive not to tell any other staff members, parents of their students, or any other person or entity that they may have been exposed. News4Jax reporter Marilyn Parker joins us live tonight. Marilyn, the article says that email was sent the day after schools in the county reopened.
Yes, and it also says that there were rumors of a teacher testing positive for COVID-19. We've reached out to the district multiple times to try and get answers, information, or comment about positive cases, but they refused. The Time reports some parents were told by local officials to quarantine their children, and more rumors spread pointing to at least 9 positive cases in the district and entire classes being quarantined since school reopened. Nearly 2 weeks after the start of the school year, Camden County reversed its policy on face masks, making it a requirement for students, staff, and visitors on campus. The district did not say if the policy change was linked to any positive cases. We reached out to the Coastal Health District today about any confirmed cases of COVID-19 in the school system. They said, quote, some school districts have chosen to release general information about positive cases and others have not. But that is a school district decision, not a public health one, end quote. The article also talks about how schools, districts across the country are disclosing information about positive tests in school. Coming up tonight on News4Jax at 10, we'll be looking at how some local schools in our area are giving out that information and if any state or federal privacy laws come into play. Reporting live, Marilyn Parker, Channel 4, the local station.